How much do you know about K-food? How much handshake have you eaten? We invite you into the world of Korean food, of course, including the history and culture of it. We'll introduce trendy foods and famous restaurants on Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan Phillips. We haven't done a Zoom link up in a while, I feel, and Ryan, I see, is in his comfy kitchen. How are we doing, Ryan?
Hey, how you doing, Peter?
Very well. Man. I was going to say, if you're out on the farm, it might be a bit nippy and chilly in the morning, but in the warmth of your kitchen. I'm going to sneeze because I thought it was chilly. Okay. What are we doing? What are we doing in the kitchen today? What has warranted this? What work do you have on?
You called it. I was listening earlier. You know, Halloween has got me really busy, and I'm often doing barbecue for friends' restaurants.
Nice.
And so right now in this giant smoker over here that I built myself a few years ago, there is about 60 kilograms of beef brisket in there that I put in at about 7:30 this morning.
Wow.
So it should be ready about 7:30 tonight.
Oh, and it's going out to other restaurants for them to sell to their patrons, is it?
Some of it is going to a big corporate catering tomorrow in Incheon, and the rest is going to my friend's restaurant if it's not going in my belly.
Fantastic. Ryan, today's hashtag is Pyonji or letter. When's the last time you wrote a letter?
Handwritten letter?
Yeah.
I was thinking about that not too long ago. I'm going back to Brazil this winter for the first time in over 20 years.
Oh, nice.
And it had me thinking about some of the handwritten letters that I wrote when I was there to correspond with folks back in the States, because it was like $2 a minute to call.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Back then, you remember? And so I wrote some letters. And then when I came back to the States, of course, writing letters to Brazil and all over the world, because, as an exchange student, you meet other exchange students with the same organization.
Yeah.
And we became, the best of friends, and we still correspond today, but now it's a whole lot faster and easier.
Yeah, electronically, not a pain in the bottom having to go to the post office or anything like that, for sure. Lots of people, I was given the hint that it's linked to the colour that I'm wearing, my kind of red cardigan today, and a popular lunch dish. People have been guessing 부대찌개, 닭갈비, I see, as well as some earlier guesses. What are we talking about today, Ryan?
Well,
and why?
Should we let them guess again live right now while looking at it?
Well, from that angle,
it smells so good.
If you don't look close enough, maybe you might still think 닭갈비, but now look closer and you can see it's little thin slices, right, of something.
There's little fatty bits and meaty bits and onion and carrot.
Apparently, this is Johan, who I think you did a show with. Ivan, at the time, might have been the name he was going by. Favorite food, Jeyukbokkeum, has been a guess.
I remember Ivan. Yeah. It is. It's Jeyukbokkeum, and I've got a little spin on it. We did a show for ARIRANG TV last year, and it was one of the only episodes out of the 50 plus we did of Korean food where we really kind of threw in an international twist on something. And it was because it works so well. Sometimes I hate fusion because it's kind of like cramming things together that don't really make sense together, sometimes.
Yeah.
Or at least for my palate or in my mind. And, because it became so popular, 20, 30 years ago, some folks were doing that. But sometimes you find things that are from completely different parts of the world, and they just seem like somehow they were developed to go together. So I've
Oh.
got a twist on that today that I'm excited to show you guys.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
really good. Matta was saying, give me some of that, Chef Ryan. I want it in a sandwich with a side of gravy. If you're putting gravy with Jeyuk, I'm going to be really, really confused and surprised.
Wait, hold on. We gotta clarify which gravy, because I know Italians, they'll say gravy is spaghetti sauce is gravy.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
But then we got white gravy, we got brown gravy, we got red eye gravy, we got turkey gravy.
There
Come
are
on,
so
there's
many
a lot of
different
gravies.
types. Wow. I don't think any of them are needed with Jeyuk, though, because I'm not sure
True.
if Matta saw that properly, but it's already marinated, right? We also had Lilith saying, Jeyukbokkeum, that's pretty easy to make. Having lived in Korea, I think she's saying that. Would you agree? Not too tricky?
Man, it is so easy and so fast. It's a brilliant dish for restaurants. And this is something you'll find, not many like meals make it to the kimbap shops.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like a list of a few things, because they have to be able to make it really fast, because people pop into those places for a quick meal.
Yeah.
And I think, don't all of them serve Jeyukbokkeum?
Yeah,
And
you're
don't
right.
you always see those hardworking guys go in there for lunch and order
Yes.
that with a bunch of rice?
Something
And
hearty.
for like maybe on a cold day, a little bit spicy, a little sweet too, but lots of rice with it. And for maybe $6 or $7, you got a lot of protein and the rice carbs, and you're satisfied, you're ready to get back to work.
Okay, so describe what this is, because people who know Korean food or have lived in Korea definitely had this. It's a super popular lunch dish, and like you said, even the working classes can easily afford this too. Its name, Jeyukbokkeum, gives no hint in English to what it is.
Right. The J part, or Jeyuk, is the pork part, but Bokkeum, back in the day, Bokkeum actually meant like a stir fry of dry ingredients. And then over the years, it was adopted for also marinated meats or things. So it is, if you've had dak galbi, the stir fry kind, not the chuncheon over the charcoal, but the kind of pan dak galbi, it is very, very similar to that. You don't need a whole lot of ingredients for this one. I've got the basics right here. I wanted to do a little show and tell, and because it's so simple, so quick and easy. I mean, definitely, a spicy sweet element with gochujang, and then maybe some red pepper flakes, to bulk it up, give it some more depth. Usually a sweetener is added. Could be sugar, could be honey, could be apple, could be grated pear. All these are delicious options. Usually there's some kind of rice wine, soy sauce, garlic, ginger, and then there's a range of vegetables that you can choose to use or not use. But onion is almost always there, and maybe some Korean leeks or scallions or something like that.
Yes.
Forgive me, I'm always checking on my smoker.
No, do keep a close eye on that.
I turned it down so I could turn off the vent hood, so it's not so noisy in here for us.
Thank you for that consideration. So Jeyukbokkeum, the pork thinly sliced with marinade that is based mainly, I guess, if you had to choose one of those ingredients as the shining star, would be red chili pepper paste, right? Gochujang. That kind of shines.
And that's why I have 3 different kinds out here. We've got kind of the famous red container that you'll see in American supermarkets today, and that's great, that works. But I've got some really special ones. I've got one from my chef friend's farm.
Oh wow, homemade.
Farm, and this is really special. I feel so lucky that they shared this with me. And then also check this one out. I never. Do we have time for this right now,
Yeah,
Peter?
of course, absolutely.
Okay. So one of our farm volunteers, Tara, whose birthday is actually yesterday. If she's watching, happy birthday, Tara! Thank you so much for this amazing gochujang. This is strawberry and apple.
What?
Gochujang.
Wow.
And You can smell the strawberries right away.
That's amazing. That's not common to put in gochujang, is it?
Well, see, but something like that with a Jeyukbokkeum could really work. I'm gonna try this.
Because in gochujang, there is a sweetness to it, right? The chili pepper paste. It's not like hit you in the face spicy.
Oh wow, it's like gochujang with a fruit roll up.
Oh,
remember fruit roll ups?
Yeah, they still sell them. Yeah, my kids love them.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow. It really does remind me of fruit roll up. Okay. Maybe somebody should make a gochujang flavored fruit roll up.
Oh my goodness.
I bet these days especially
yeah,
did the right marketing, that would sell.
You say K roll up and it'll work. But in the regular gochujang then, is there a fruit base or some kind of sweet aspect to it when you're making it?
Yes, but a lot of natural sweetness comes from the rice powder that's used in it where it's fermented. Yeah, some of the more modern, they will have rice syrup, which is not as sweet as say corn syrup, but definitely has sugar in it or has sweetness to it.
Yeah, so the sweetness in the Jeyukbokkeum must come from other elements. I think my mum does it old school with like white sugar, and I know that you prefer to use honey in dishes that you can make. So today's dish really is a soul food. It has an association with men as well, more than women. Like men just want to go and have this because they want meat all the time.
Yeah.
If tteokbokki is more of a quote unquote women's dish, then this is certainly on the male side. Of course, in this day and age, anyone can eat it. My wife loves it as well. We'll be back in part 2 to talk more about it, get into the cooking and eating of it as well. After this one from Woods, featuring Young K of Day 6, Falling. And we are back for part 2, Dish of the Day with Chef Ryan on Zoom from his kitchen. And I just had a question from our producer Minnie, who's saying, those little mandu peas, so that is the little, I guess, outer layer of a dumpling, a mandu. What are they? Are they tacos? Is this what we're doing today, Ryan? Is this the fusion twist?
Yeah, man. Yeah. You haven't tried this yet, huh?
No, not a Jeyuk taco. I've definitely had kalbi ones. I must have had kimchi in them before, but Jeyuk in a taco, oh, of course, that's a no-brainer. When Matahari was saying earlier, sandwiches, the gravy part, no, but sandwiches, this would make a perfect fill-in as well, because it's so stimulating. It would go great in between a couple of thick slices of bread. Although, now I'm thinking, what about dumplings? What about mandu? I've never seen that before, Jeyuk mandu. Surely that would work.
Oh, that would work, too. Yeah. You'd have to... you'd probably have to cut up the meat though, because the meat is thinly sliced traditionally in Jeyukbokkeum, and so they're little pieces. So if you bit into a mandu and pulled your, the meat might come hanging out or something. Yeah. That's not real pleasant.
That's true. You'd have to chop it up small after cooking it, right?
But the reason maybe you haven't tried one of these yet is because Korea is still getting hip to the corn tortilla. But a lot of, believe it or not, guys, there's quite a bit of fine dining, Mexican elements, or Central American, South American elements that have come to Korea, and a number of restaurants are now doing what I do here. Sourcing corn, maybe domestic, maybe they're having somebody grow it for them here, or maybe they're importing it. But they are making tortillas at the restaurant and doing really interesting stuff with them, like this. Something, sure, you can make a delicious taco with Jeyukbokkeum and put it in any kind of tortilla. Yeah. But there's something really that just catches me when it comes to corn tortillas and Jeyukbokkeum, and a little bit of perilla leaf instead of cilantro. A little bit of catnip. And look at these babies. I've finally gotten pretty good at making these. This is the corn that we grew on the farm.
And then what do you do with it?
It's a lot of work. It's kind of a ridiculous amount of work. But let me wash the hand real quick. So when you grow corn, if you just eat it, well, there's different kinds of corn, but for tortillas, it's a flint corn. And when you grow that kind of corn, the nutrients in the corn are not as accessible to the human digestive system on its own. So you do a process called nixtamalization, okay? And that is using a strong base like calcium hydroxide, or what was often used in the day was limestone powdered.
Oh.
You take limestone and powder it down, or even the ash from a fire of hard woods would have enough of a base to it, enough of an alkaline that you mix with water, and then you boil the corn in that. You take it off the cob dry, and then boil that dry corn in that very alkaline solution, and then let it sit in that solution overnight. And the next day you wash it, and maybe rub off some of the outer husk of each corn.
Yeah.
And you're left with a much more nutrient for the human body to absorb those nutrients now that they're much more accessible.
Oh.
And that's why tamales, have you heard of tamales?
Yeah.
That's why tamales are called tamales, is because of nixtamalization, that process.
Oh, and so does that affect the flavor and how they taste? Because nutrients, yeah, great, that's good for your health, but do they have an effect on how you can make those tortillas and things like that?
100%, yes. When you're doing the nixtamalization process, or like as I'm cooking these tortillas, it just takes me right back to mostly Mexican restaurants in Texas, because I grew up going to those quite often. And you walk in the door, and the smell of freshly made tortillas is everywhere. And while I'm making these, I caught a nice aroma of that corn cooking, that nixtamalized cornmeal cooking on the plancha back here, the griddle, and it transported me back in time just a little bit.
Oh, wow. So then with that corn, is that all that goes into those tortillas? Are you mixing flour and things like that into it as well?
No flour in these. Now, there are different kinds of tortillas that you might put a little bit of flour into, or tortillas that are all flour. There are tortillas made with corn that hasn't been nixtamalized too. But most of them, most of the ones that are enjoyed are nixtamalized corn. Hey, with Halloween coming up, I got to mention too this wild connection between vampires and that corn story. Do you remember? I think I may have told you about this a year or two ago. But no kidding. There is a serious link between vampire lore, or the original old stories of vampires, and corn.
Why? How?
Can you guess? No. Okay. So when the conquistadors came over to the Americas and found all these indigenous people consuming corn, they're like, hey, perfect, we're going to take this back to Europe, we're going to sell this, people are going to love it, it can be a major food source for people across Europe. This will be great. So they took it back, they took seeds back with them, but what they didn't take back with them was the knowledge of nixtamalization. And there, if you just do a little search of famine or drought in history, there's been so many. We've been living now in this time where of such food abundance, but back in the day, it was like every 10 years there'd be a big famine or drought.
Sure.
Maybe it was because of a volcanic eruption. Those were the really big ones, but sometimes it was just an odd year, and rains didn't fall. And when that would happen, all people had to eat were their stocks of corn, their storage, because corn dries and can be stored for a long time. And so, especially places in Eastern Europe, where the stories of vampires originally came from, they didn't have anything else, and they're eating just this corn. And when you only eat that unnixtamalized corn, a few symptoms occur in your body. Your skin will go more pale. You'll get darkness around the eyes. You have a sensitivity to sunlight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
becoming a vampire.
Some redness in the eyes. These are all symptoms of exactly what happens when you eat just corn
Yeah,
that hasn't been mixed with oils. And
that's
then those
unbelievable.
people, hungry, starving, would wander across Europe,
Yeah.
and they would be wearing hoods, to protect them from the sun. And people were like, "Who is this stranger in town?" And then
It,
so on and so forth.
it's not necessarily linked to bloodthirst, though. Maybe not all that way. Maybe just being incredibly hungry.
Well, this is a theory, I should say. It's not a proven fact, but there's a lot of evidence that supports it. A lot of evidence that lends itself to this idea. So I find
Wow.
it really interesting.
Interesting. Kalida Automatica says not everyone knows about nixtamalization, the process even in Mexico. I'm really impressed with Chef Ryan knowing so much about Mexican cuisine. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
thanks.
getting a cooking lesson from a professor today. And then, yeah, Johan Ivan came into the chat. He was drawn to the Jeyuk so much, and many people saying it's going to work really well with tacos. Absolutely looking forward to that. So, in terms of back to the Jeyuk, what cut of pork are we using? Because here in Korea, we're so detailed with all the different cuts and stuff. Does it matter?
Yeah, usually you want something that has a good balance of fat and meat.
Yeah.
So often shoulder is used. The
Aha.
same thing that we use in the West for pulled pork.
Yeah.
So the moksal, in Korea we call it moksal, or like neck meat. But
Yeah.
I mean, does a pig really have shoulders?
Yeah, it's hard to debate that, isn't it? And so usually we'll have the Jeyukbokkeum, I think, at the supermarkets. You won't have to be cutting this up yourself. It'll be already pre-sliced.
Yeah, so they freeze it so that they have the ability to cut it really, really thin.
Hmm.
So that's an important tip. If you guys want to make this, you will find it a lot easier if you throw the meat in the freezer. If you now I don't try to cut it. It's dangerous to try to cut meat
Yeah.
by hand when it's rock hard frozen. But something like 30 minutes in the freezer, if it's a
Yeah.
smaller piece of meat, that'll make it so much easier to cut into very, very thin slices.
Yeah, and you mentioned already instead of the cilantro or coriander having the gennip. So that's one of the go-to things to have with Jeyuk, right? Having it with sam, the lettuce wraps and things like that is also a big deal. Having it with some kind of starchy exterior like a taco, that's not traditionally Korean at all.
Right. Yeah. Usually it's just with the rice.
Hmm.
I've got some white rice right here. Well, it's got a little bit of black rice, a little bit of barley and other grains. You know how I'm always making things extra complicated.
No, that's good. Like Koreans who are health conscious will not have white rice at home very often. They will mix in other things. My auntie never has the white rice. It's either the
Really?
purple stuff or lots of different grains in there, or at least the barley, which has a nice pop to it as well. So why don't you plate it up while we take a next song break, and then we can eat it and go through the recipe in detail in part 3, Ryan. Is that okay?
The royal we can eat it. Sorry, Peter.
Nah.
I'm a little far away from you today.
Here's Just Be going south. Part 3 dish of the day, talking about Jeyukbokkeum, which is the stir-fried, spicy, kind of sweet pork slices from the neck or shoulder, depending on where you're from. Ryan, looks like you are enjoying it with rice as well, the traditional Korean way. Yeah, with the sauce in there. That's the way to do it, isn't it? And I saw you rolling up the gennip like into almost like a little a roll up. And what's that for?
Yeah,
Was
sure.
that for cutting it?
Yep. See, now we got little ribbons.
Ah, so rather than doing that like with one piece of gennip just flat down, if you roll it up, then it's much easier to slice through that tiny little roll.
That is correct, Peter. You got it. That is the classic French, known as chiffonade.
I had no idea that. I thought it was so labor intensive if you're cutting it along the whole length of the leaf. Oh, you're making me so jealous / angry because Jeyukbokkeum is one of my favorites, and you're on Zoom today. You're having it with the rice, which is steaming hot. It looks amazing, and that's why, like, this is eaten all year round. This is not a seasonal dish, but like you said, on a cold day, it's just extra, isn't it?
It was really chilly this morning, huh?
Yeah, like 1 degree.
This one, yeah, yesterday didn't grab me that much, but this morning, getting up at 5 and coming out here by 6 and whatnot, it was cold this morning.
With that bowl of rice,
this is good.
So good. Okay,
And I've now made enough tortillas.
Oh wow!
This morning with our corn, you wouldn't
Uh-huh.
believe how much work this container represents here, Peter.
No, the way you
growing,
described it sounds really labor intensive.
well, that's just the nixtamalization part. What about planting it and growing it and harvesting it and then wringing the cobs, the kernels off the cob and
Yeah.
then nixtamalize it, then dry it, then grind it. But then you get something like this.
And that's
Look
just
at
100%
that.
corn.
Corn and water, not
Uh-huh.
even salt in here.
Wow.
And this, we had a proper Oaxacan native Mexican chef come to the kitchen
Wow.
and give us her tips on. She lives in Incheon, makes some incredible Mexican food and some of the best tortillas I've ever had in Korea.
Yeah.
Hers are a little better than mine. So I gotta say, mine are a little tiny bit thicker, but these are some of the best I've been able to make after having a refresher course with her.
Yeah.
And when you've got that corn, and not every corn tortilla is the same. There's all different types of corn, just like there's so many different types of gochujang.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but yeah, so this is something you gotta try. And then the perilla leaf, you could throw a little onion in here.
yeah.
I've even added some cheese sometimes
Oh, yes, cheese
and
would
make
go
like
well.
a quesadilla taco. But there's something kind of magical about the flavor of the corn that melds with in Mexican food, there's mole, which is like chocolate depth
Chicken.
roasted chilies
Yeah.
and chicken, and gochujang has that sweet gochujang. There's a parallel there
Mm.
between that and mole. There really is, and these things were developed, opposite sides of the planet from each other, but just go so well together. So
All right, take a
without
bite.
further ado,
It looks amazing. I've only think I've had corn tortillas when they're the really hard ones, the hard taco shells. I'm really curious how that tastes. It must have more flavor because the hard crispy ones, you really can't taste the corn. But I'm assuming, yeah, the corn is my favorite potato chip flavor. I imagine it would work so well.
oh my god. Initially, the flavors of Jeyukbokkeum are strong.
Yeah, sweet,
Maybe
spicy.
that's why it's not like a hard working man's meal. People they want something good,
Yeah,
reliable, But as you take a bite and chew, later the corn comes in, and it just kind of sings along with those other flavors to the end.
oh, I can imagine that, like sweetness from the corn as well. There is a common saying in Korea. We said it was a men's dish, but it goes so far as to say real men eat jeyuk. That's what they say here. And you can have this as a top up. Like Ryan showed us it mixed in the bowl. So sometimes you get it as a top up dish. Top up means it's on top of the rice. But the tortilla way looks so good. And I guess that's kind of a play on sam or sambab, where you will have it with the lettuce leaves and perilla leaves and maybe a bit of rice in there as well. Maybe a bit healthier, but that goes well together as well.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because you could throw this recipe, if you can find the thinly sliced pork or freeze it a bit and slice it yourself. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
The rest of this thing is so easy. You've got to have some kind of gochujang.
Yeah.
But this kind of thing, these big red containers are found all over the world now.
Yeah.
On top of that, You need some garlic cloves, some ginger.
Yep.
Okay. This one we grew on the farm.
Oh, nice.
Some kind of rice wine or soju, a little soy sauce. If you can find, but you don't have to have this one as much. There's some red chili flakes from Korea as well. Some kind of sweetener like a local honey, but you could take a pear or an apple and grate it down and then use that sweetness. Some onions. You marinate the meat, that thinly sliced meat. But because it's so thinly sliced, you don't have to marinate for very long. You're talking like 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
You know, whip up your sauce with the garlic, the ginger, the gochujang, something sweet, soy sauce, a little rice wine to help the flavors all meld together. Spin that up in a bowl, throw in your thinly sliced pork shoulder, let that sit for 20, 30 minutes while you cut your carrot, maybe some cabbage is often used, but definitely want to have some onion in there. It doesn't have to be the Korean leeks, the daepa. No. It could just be regular old onion, or scallions work really well. And if you really want to try to find some perilla leaves, this is a nice addition that Peter doesn't always like, but I love it.
Goes well with Jeyuk.
You know, start with a cold pan, and a cast iron works really well with this. Nice even heat, and throw that marinated meat in there. Why are you starting with a cold pan? Because you don't want to burn the sweetness that's in the honey, that's in the gochujang. Those things will burn really easy. So start with a cold pan, let it come up to medium or medium-high heat, and you'll hear it start to sizzle. Move it around a bit. You're cooking the pork. Now it's after about 4 or 5 minutes, you're going to throw in your vegetables. If you have cabbage, carrots, those go in first. Some onion, cook those down a bit. And then towards the end, you're going to add a little toasted sesame oil and maybe some perilla leaf. And you can garnish with other things too. So but that's it. You're done. You got some rice going on the side. And if you, like Peter was saying, if you have some some kind of wraps, and you just put the rice, the Jeyukbokkeum on the table with some wraps. Yeah. Everybody, it can be a communal meal. You can sit around this table and just build bites. Yeah. You know, lettuce wrapped around the rice and the Jeyuk, and it's fun and it's so easy, and you can feed a lot of people that way, cheap and quick.
Yeah, and it's a good way to get kids to eat vegetables as well, because it's so delicious. It just like a wrap. It's not actually part of the meal, the lettuce or anything.
I didn't think about it that way, but you're right. Yeah, because for each bite they have to eat a whole big old leaf of lettuce.
Yeah, that's otherwise it's very messy. Yeah, you need to have that, don't you? It is so delicious, this dish. Really, I implore you to try it. It is such a popular thing. And apparently overseas reactions have been amazing to this. It's not quite going as viral as ramyeon or anything like that, because you have to make it, basically. But a few foreigners will say my favorite Korean dish is definitely Jeyukbokkeum on YouTube. Koreans go crazy for this spicy pork dish, Jeyukbokkeum. And there are regional variations that I didn't know about, just slightly. Seoul and Gyeonggi is said to be sweeter and milder seasoning, whereas the Jeolla province is meant to be spicier, more chili, more garlic, and then Gyeongsang province, saltier, soy-based, a smokier flavour. But I feel like with Jeyuk, it's got to be cooked. Yeah, it shouldn't burn, of course, nothing should burn, but you want to get it on that side of the scale. If it's undercooked, the colours don't look as good either. And having that kind of smoky flavour to it, or kind of fire flavour, as we say, pulma, that can add a layer too.
I love it that way.
Yeah.
Some of the recipes you find online, they're really trying to keep you from taking it that far. You know, to keep it kind of smoother or even with more moisture. Yeah. But I kind of like it when you get those little charred bits on it.
Yeah. And if you are having it with rice, like a top up, you definitely do need some sauce remaining. Like in Ryan's bowl, you can see it. That tastes so good. If you like pibya together with the rice, you mix it all in together. Ryan, thank you so much for doing the corn tortillas as well. I really want to try one of those.
I'm really excited. I'm going to take the rest of these tortillas and the rest of the Jeyukbokkeum next door to my kitchen neighbors with a side dish shop for lunch. Yeah. And I'm going to see if I can get their reaction, see if I get them to try it. I bet they're going to go, something like that. We'll see.
Fantastic. Good luck with the smoking for the rest of the day, and we'll see you back in the studio next week.
All right, buddy. Be good.
Thank you very much. Here is Pateko and Shirt featuring Minami of Risen with Teach Me How to Love You.